Welcome to Take Another Look with Gerda Felix and Melanie Taddeo Malo with a genuine conversation about what's missing from the human connection. Let's join Melanie and Gerda now.
Welcome to another episode of Take Another Look. I am Gerda Felix and my beautiful co-host,
Melanie Taddeo Malo. Hi, everyone.
Hello and welcome. And we are happy that you have decided to spend your time with us today. We will talk about something that has been very dear and near to me, the conversation about failures and success. So Melanie, let me start with you. How do you define success?
You know, it's interesting, Gerda, because it evolved over the years, I'll be honest. So when I was younger, in my mind, success was what type of career you had, how much money you had in the bank, what kind of car you drove, the type of house, having the perfect family, being married, everything. That's how my mind was made, that was what success was. But after my stroke and after I lost my eyesight, oh boy, I realized I was a huge failure in that, as far as that was concerned. So my mind shifted. I had to, otherwise I would always be a failure according to that standard. And so now for me, success is setting goals for myself, whatever they may be. Could be something in personal life, professional life, and working hard to achieve those goals. And as I achieve those goals, then I'm successful. But also, I can be successful in all areas of my life. Perhaps I've helped somebody. Perhaps I've done something to impact our family. We save some money, things like that. To me, those are successes. But it took me a long time to realize it's not about the monetary version of success.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And for me, as I was thinking about this subject, success is when what you say and what you do connect very well and you are at peace with yourself.
Yes,
when you are in that, yes, because when you are in that position and that you are at peace with yourself, you know you have accomplished what you set out to do. And for me, that's the definition of success. So it could be very different from one person to the other. What do you think, Mel?
Oh my goodness.
Melanie.
Absolutely. So here's what I realized in the last week. I think you and I had this conversation, and hence why we're doing this topic. I work with a lot of individuals with various disabilities and all different stages of their life. It could be a disability they were born with or something they acquired later in life. And again, some people had the mindset that I used to have about, oh, I have to do all these things to be successful. Whereas others don't even know how to develop what success is because they've never been asked to do anything. Their family has always taken care of them. They've always done everything for them. Nothing's been expected of them. So they don't understand success because they've never achieved anything on their own, which to me opened my eyes to this conversation of the importance of everybody realizing what success means to themselves and developing that for themselves to help empower them to reach whatever it is they want to reach. But if you have no baseline of what success is, how do you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And which also brings me to this. Can we achieve success if we've never achieved, I say achieve, if we've never encountered failure?
That's deep. I don't think you can. Because how do you know when you're doing something that's successful if you've never been on the other end of the spectrum?
So they walk hand in hand, correct?
Absolutely. I agree.
So what is something that you would say that you've been successful at?
Well, I am definitely, as I've discussed many times, probably on the podcast, I'm very goal-oriented. I set out a plan. I have goals milestones I want to accomplish for myself. And I'm very, very strict to accomplishing those goals. I'm very determined. So I find that I'm successful when I have a plan. So whether it is Toastmasters, accomplishing things, achieving goals for my charity, and that might be raising a certain amount of money, developing a certain amount of programs, or recruiting new clients. I also have great ideas, as I said, but it's taking those ideas to that next level of implementing it that I've really learned that takes time and energy, but I am successful. Starting a charity from scratch, starting a concept of a business from scratch is definitely an accomplishment and something I find I had success with. Do I want to continue to grow them and take them to the next level? Absolutely. But the first step I was very successful with. How about you, Gerda?
This is such an interesting question, even though I posed it, but it's interesting. As you were speaking, I was thinking, okay, let's say, for example, when I play volleyball, the success for me would be to win when I'm playing a game. But there has been, or there have been games where I did not win. And yet I considered myself successful. Why? Because I know that in those games, I gave the best that I could give. So for me, it doesn't matter whether I win or not, although most people will say that the other plays to win. And I do. What is important is that in the moment, I am in my zone and I give you my 100 and even 150%. For me, that's what I consider success.
And that makes a lot of sense because we can't control what's happening around us or the other people that play the game with you. Perhaps you're playing against a team that's just better, it's skilled. That doesn't mean that you weren't successful just because you didn't win. So I'm glad that you said that.
Yes, yes, because, and that's why I say it is an individual quest, okay?
Yes.
Because for some people, success could be, I'm good at baking muffins. I am going to bake muffins. But the fact that those people have done that, they might be very successful in creating muffins. Because you have businesses, that's what they do. They sell muffins, right? They are successful in doing this. As for other people, it could be something different. And that's why I believe this is definitely a personal quest.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when do you determine that something is a failure or that you have failed?
Well, here's the thing. Again, it's individual, but I think whenever we have a plan or a goal or something we've set out to do, if it doesn't go the way you expect it to, and you don't get the end result you were expecting, you may interpret that as a failure. However, you may not have failed, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So I think having realistic expectations of yourself and of the goal makes a lot of sense. So let's just say, okay, I want to get, like you use the goal, I want to get into better shape. And you may be saying, I'm going to lose X amount of weight by this date. But you may not have got to that number, but you're in better health, right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, did you fail or did you succeed? So for me, I realized, and it actually just happened recently, Gerda. So with Toastmasters, we have paths that you complete. And there's 5 levels. And I completed all 5 levels. I was very proud. Yay. But as I was reflecting back, I failed myself. Why? Because I didn't do what I could have done. So again, those expectations. I did what it needed to accomplish. I finished the path. But I know I could have done more. And I got lazy because it was the same projects. So I'll just use the same speeches. See, why do I have to redo it? I've already written this speech. I'll just pull it in and brush it off, do it a little bit different. But what did I learn in that? Absolutely nothing. So I failed myself.
You've learned that this is what you've learned actually, although it looks like, a success and failure at the same time. What you've learned is that you are not satisfied with the status quo.
You got it.
That's what you've learned.
And that's the thing is a learning lesson. But
Yes.
to me, it was a failure, even though I successfully completed something.
Mhm.
But for you, Gerda, how about you? When do you know you failed at something?
When do I know that? Well, I
When
think
do you
it's
realize
the
that?
same. Yes, I think it's the same thing. I have accomplished many, and as you know, many events and many projects, and I enjoy them. And I think at some point I get complacent. And then although the project is a success, I love it, I like it. And then I feel that, why? Because I did not challenge myself to go further. And the challenging of myself to go further, for me, that's what allows me to expand the person that I am continuously becoming. And this quest for me is the success. The failure is when I become complacent, when I accept that, well, this is the way we've always done it. Well, doesn't mean that it is the right way for the next step that we are going into.
Yeah.
Because as we all know, what got you here will not get you there.
Mm.
So that's what it is for me, Melanie.
But let's look at it in a different light for a minute, Gerda, because
Go
let's
ahead.
face, there's certain things. Okay, so you and I, yes, we're all about personal development and self-growth and all that stuff. So we try and challenging ourselves all the time. But even as a kid in school, you have pass and fail, right? Success and failures at a young age. So is it important for us to realize those two definite differences from an early age, and so that we have the comprehension of it? Or are you of the mindset that everything is a learning for young people? And I'll ask a further question after you answer that part.
Okay. Wow. Is it important? I think it's important at least that we understand the concept. That's what I think. Because if we don't understand certain concepts, then we are then understand only one side of what it could be. So for me, and I'm a person who likes to look at the big picture, the whole picture. So that's why I think it is important for us to understand both parts, okay? But it is also important for anyone to understand the person who is going through that. For example, I could be a parent who's very focused about you getting good grades.
Mhm.
So I'm expecting that you bring home 100% all the time.
Mhm.
But I don't even take into consideration what the fact that I'm asking you to bring 100% all the time, what is it doing to you as a child?
Right.
So that's why I believe that you need both. You need to, yes, give yourself a goal. It is important. Understand what is happening, okay, on this journey until you get to that destination. What do you think?
Oh yeah, no, so for me, I think it's definitely important, because can you imagine if you always were successful your entire childhood? You won, your family uplifted you, your good grades, everything. You never dealt with failure ever in your life. And then you go for your first job interview and you don't get it. How do you cope? You have no concept of how to deal with failure and how to turn it into something that's an opportunity to learn and grow, right?
Absolutely.
So I've seen so many individuals that have been successful their entire childhood in school and everything they did because their families ensured that. That's all they accepted. And then when they got into the real world, they had a rude awakening.
Yes. Yeah, and that happens a lot. That
Mhm.
happens. I remember my first year of, well, for us where I used to live, my first year of Cégep, which is college,
Mhm.
it was freeing because, before college, it was very strict. You
Oh,
go to
yes.
school, you do what you're supposed to do, and it was very strict, and I followed. But the
Mhm.
first year of college, woohoo! You mean nobody will ask me why I didn't go to this course? Well, I can stay with my friends in the cafeteria
Yeah.
and play cards
Yes, exactly. Oh, for sure.
until my grades. But I almost had a heart attack because
Yeah.
now I had to show that to my parents.
Yeah.
And I was accepted the next session, the next season, but I was on probation.
Mhm.
But because for me it was so freeing,
Yeah.
and that's because I've never experienced that before. And that's why, as you mentioned, it is important to experience both. What
Yes.
about you?
No, it's same thing with me when I went to university. Oh my goodness. I had straight A's in high school. I worked my butt off for it. I was studious. I moved out of the house. Woohoo! Party, party, party. 8 o'clock class. Yeah. So totally. It was a rude awakening. I needed to go through that and I needed to have those confrontations with my family, but you need to pull it up and take it to that next level for me to realize I was just endangering my own life in sense of not making it any further. So it was on my responsibility. So it was a life lesson more than anything. But
Yes.
I just think those, and it's not like you said, it's just an awakening or a realization that failure can happen to anybody. And it's not the end of the world too when it happens. That's the other thing.
No, because it's the end of her world, but it's not the end of
The
the
end of the
world.
chapter, perhaps.
Because, I see many people who are very talented, which means that whatever talents that they have, it comes very easy to them. And because it comes very easy to them, they don't have to apply themselves so much because it's something that they do, from within. That's their purpose. That's the way they were built. It's like, it's easy. But because they have practiced doing things like, I don't have to apply myself.
Yeah.
When it comes to things that they don't understand, that it's harder, well, it's harder because they have not learned how to apply themselves in doing
Mhm.
anything. And that's another part that, it becomes a very rude awakening for
Yes.
that reason. Yeah.
So again, I think sometimes success, failure are not so concrete and so clear. I think it is almost like a blurred line because even though it may be success to one person, it could be something like you mentioned that isn't so successful because they came easily or
Mhm.
like myself with the path.
Mhm.
I didn't challenge myself.
Mhm. Yeah, no, definitely. And I think those are the deep lessons that we need to learn, that we need to be aware of, that we need to continuously be conscious of in order for us to understand ourselves better so that we can grow. Because if we don't understand it, then we are bound to repeat it. And that's how then, that's how patterns are formed when we are not conscious.
One other question for you, Gerda.
Ooh, okay.
When we fail and we stay stuck, how do we overcome that failure to see that there is opportunity out of it? How do we
Mm.
get out of that hole?
This is such a beautiful question, especially for me. And I'll tell you why. When I have done things, because in my mind, I have my goals and I know that I want to achieve them. And when I don't achieve them, they used to crush me. And I would stay there forever. When I say forever, I could be in depression for a good year and I stay there forever. It is interesting. And I think for me, that was the biggest lesson. So in regards to what happened last week, okay, everybody
And
who
last
would,
week.
everybody who knows would say, well, this was a failure. I could say it was a failure. The fact that I went for a role, which was the program quality director, I did not get it. Everybody could say it's a failure, and some people would say it's a big failure. But for me, what was the lesson that I learned from it, the biggest lesson is that I went through that. I have put myself out there, which was huge for me because I work better in the background. Like really, I can do a lot of things. I don't really need people to say, well, girl, good. No. But the fact that I put myself out there was one of the biggest lessons. The second biggest, or perhaps the biggest one, was the fact that it happened. And I did not get stuck in the fact that what I was expecting is not what happened. And for me, you have no idea how that lesson taught me something, that I was able to move on. And in the moving on, it was magical, the doors that were open. And I love it. And the reason I'm saying this, it's because I feel like I am in my zone, even though it might have looked like I failed.
Yes, I love that. And it's so important because here's the thing. I find when we get caught up in the failure or what shoulda, coulda, woulda, or first either we do the blame game, oh, it was because that person did this or said that or whatever. And then we get into, if I had only done this, and the blame game starts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we don't take accountability or acceptance for what we did well and what we could learn and grow from. Because let's face it, yes, you stepped outside of your comfort zone and you took something on that you may not have done before. And okay, yeah, you didn't win, but like you said, opportunities came knocking. But if you were still stuck in that blame game or that poor me, or no, you wouldn't have seen the possibilities. You would have just
nobody loved me.
Exactly.
So I could have stayed. I could have been in that, but that wasn't it. And that's when I realized, wow, this was a gigantic growth for me.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm so excited.
Yeah, no, and that's why, I thought to talk about success and failure, we really need to pay attention to observe ourselves on that journey. Because for me, failure is when you stop. When you stop, when in fact you could have continued. Okay, because if you stop and you know that, okay, no, this is not for me, then you're good because you've learned a lesson. You've known exactly, okay, this is not for you, okay, move on to something else. But when you stop because of self-pity, because of guilt, because of coulda, shoulda, woulda, then this is a failure. Because if you only continued, you would have gone to where you needed to go. And that's what failure is for me. When you stop when you stop where you could have continued, that's what failure is for me.
Definitely. And I love that. And it's so true. There's so many aspects of our lives, in relationships, at work. I can tell you in the accessibility world, how many times have I been stopped because I can't see something? Oh my goodness. If I had just given up. No, I embrace it. I take it on and I want to tell everybody about accessibility. So it's our mindset, wouldn't you say?
Yes, and I need to say that that's what makes you strong. That's what makes you a very powerful person, because you don't let those things trip you and you don't stay there. As my favorite actor says, fall down 7 times, get up 8.
Yes. And it's okay to stumble, to fall, but just get back up.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the best way for us to understand who we are. That is the best way. and also to decide whether or not we want to continue, because it's a choice. You have to make that choice. And there are sometimes you can decide that, you know what, this is where I stop. I have arrived, I've learned what I needed to learn, and now I can take another bus. I can go
Go a
another
different
route
direction.
because
or-
this is
yeah.
not good for me. You can decide that.
So
And
true.
that I call success as well, because you know
Yes.
yourself enough to make that decision. So yes, you're right in the sense that the line can be blurred,
Mhm.
because I believe that one is the other side of the first one, right? And vice versa. What do you think?
Oh, I agree. No, absolutely. You have to see both sides. It takes time to get to that point. Let's face facts, okay? Sometimes we're so caught up in that moment of, oh no, it didn't work the way I wanted it to, or this didn't. But once you take a step back and really look at what you have accomplished, maybe it wasn't that number or wasn't whatever, but still be proud of what you have accomplished, give recognition to that. And then, okay, what could I learn from this experience? Maybe for next time I may want to consider this, or that's okay. I've realized what I need to learn and that's it, it's done. So those choices that we all have, that will also help control our successes
Mhm.
and where we want to go, the direction we want to go.
Absolutely. You know, I was thinking about this not too long ago. When we were children and we learn additions, subtractions,
Yeah.
multiplications,
Mm.
divisions, we've learned this. There are many ways that can take us to 25.
So true.
Okay. So when we were taught the basis. The base is, okay, you have many ways to go to 25. You can do addition, you can do subtraction. Okay, so that's the basis of life. And yet when we have problems, we don't even think of the different ways that we could get to the solution. We are so stuck in the problem. Isn't that interesting?
It is. I love that analogy. It's like the roadmap as well.
Yes.
I'm going from point A to point B.
Yeah.
Who says you can't take a detour and go around and go the other way?
Yeah.
There's more than one way to do something, for sure.
Yeah. Well, Melanie, we come to our time once again. And as usual, it's been a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. Now, I would ask you, is there the last point you would like to add?
I really would just love to say, it's important for us to take time to reflect, to think about our successes and our failures, because by identifying the differences and what we walk away from, whether it's because that's where we needed to stop or because we're walking away to take a different perspective, if we're not acknowledging both, then we're not helping ourselves. So please take the time to reflect and then just know it's okay to be successful and it's okay to fail because it's not the end of the road.
Exactly. Exactly. And all through this, give yourself some love.
Yes.
You know, and accept yourself as you are.
Mhm.
Forget the should, because you know, should is not what is. As you are shooting on yourselves, you are not paying attention to the present.
Mhm. I love that.
As you are shooting on yourself,
Yes.
you are not paying attention to the present, because should is not what is.
Beautiful. So Gerda, how can people reach us?
Take another look. Podcast.com. That's
Yes,
our website.
We're on Facebook. We're on
Anchor,
Spotify,
Spotify.
YouTube,
Yes.
and we're looking forward to hearing from you. Contact us at contact@takeanotherlookpodcast.com. Send us an email if you want to hear us talk about a certain topic. If you'd like to be interviewed, or you just want to share some love, please reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes. And I will say that again. Please reach out to us, because we want to have those conversations. There's no topics that we wouldn't want to discuss with you, because in conversations. That's how we grow.
100%.
Well, thank you, Melanie.
Thanks,
It's been a
Garrett. Always a
pleasure.
pleasure.
Until next time.
See you later.
Bye-bye.